It is not live. We are live now. All right. So welcome back to AUHSD or AUHSD. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Good start.
This is
today.
nailing it.
Yep. Take two.
It's been a week. So ACHS Music Department History Night with our special guests, Mr. John Stava. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from the great state of Washington, where Camarillo music Camarillo staff go to retire, it seems, now that Mr. Storer is sworn off the state. And I know he's watching, which is the only reason I'm giving him a shout out. Otherwise, I would not give him that attention. So
today, actually, I think you mentioned it when we were doing our show synopsis earlier.
I've been very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So John, I feel more comfortable calling you John because that's the capacity I know you. I know the students that are watching, many of them would know you as Mr. Stava. So John, what years were you at ACHS?
I was there from 2005 to 2014. And fascinatingly enough, you mentioned that Mr. Stava stuff. Never once did I request it or ask it. The kids just did it. It was the weirdest thing.
It's a respectful bunch.
They are. They really are.
So 2005 to 2014, which is a pretty, as we build this, kind of timeline going backwards, is a pretty decent chunk of time in the tenure of Camarillo music directors and frankly music directors in general. They don't tend to last long. It's a shorter career lifespan, generally speaking. There's burnout, but there's also the grass is always greener on the other side issue that happens. So you were followed by a gentleman named Corey Reynolds, who was there for 1 year after you and 1 year before me. So that's why we have a lot of overlap of students. And then who was there before you?
Susan Trawargi was the band person. She was just a phenomenal musician and a wonderful piano player.
Yes. I've seen her. She's still in the area, and I think she does a lot of accompanying work and piano work. Do you know how long she was there?
My guess is 2 years.
Okay, that sounds right. And then before that was Herzog, right?
Herzog. Yeah, I completely forgot about Herzog. He was there too.
Herzog, who became the principal at Monte Vista. So a lot of students would know Mr. Herzog, and then before that, obviously, is Mr. Kalel. And so we'll be talking a little bit about him later when we have the Ramon, Dominic, and Tony trio. We'll be talking a little bit about the Kalel, the years then. So what was your career path? Since obviously your whole career wasn't spent at Camarillo, you had other places.
Oh, we'll go right back to the top. I went to CSU Long Beach, go 49ers. And after Long Beach, I went into the U.S. Air Force for 4 years, 2 years in Vietnam. Thank you very much. Then I came out of the Air Force, went to CSU Fresno for my master's to study with Richie Clendenin. That was the main reason I go there. And I was a music or trumpet performance major. Yeah. And it was not Richie, but it was another one of the advisors there said, while you're getting your master's, take these other two classes, you'll get your teaching credential. And I said, I don't want to teach. I want to play. And, here we are.
Classic trumpet player. No. I'm paying the bills with these chops.
I hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So master's and teaching credential at Long Beach?
Yeah.
At Fresno.
Yeah. Fresno. My first job out of school, and it was supposed to be a 1-year gig at Arosa High School. And my wife was finishing her degree in nursing at Fresno State at that time. And at the end of 1 year at Arosa, I said, I'm not leaving. I was just having a good time with the kids. I said, I'm going to just stay here for a few more years, which I did. And then my next high school was Tulare Western, which will probably, that was a fun time. Then I went to Lindsay for about 15 years. And really in Lindsay, fell in love with teaching music, not just band. But teaching, the whole thing of teaching music was Lindsay for me. And then from there to Madera High School, Dan Talbert was the band director there. Both schools were combined. The schools are there now, Madera and Madera South was at one school at that point. We had 300 kids signed up for band, and Dan just said, I can't handle 300 by myself. And Bill Dabbs was the one that said, okay, we'll get you an assistant. And they brought me up to Madera at that time. And then from Madera down to Camarillo.
Camarillo. So Madera was your longest tenure?
Not really. Lindsay.
Because Lindsay.
Yeah, Lindsay was about 12 years. Madera was 4.
Oh, okay. And you said that you fell in love with teaching music as opposed to just being band guy, right? So what was your teaching load there?
Yeah, teaching load was high school band, junior high band, 4th, 5th, 6th grade band, 2nd, 3rd grade classroom music. I mean, I got to do it all. And I really did fall in love with the whole thing of teaching and working with, the younger kids getting the response, when they go,
Well, you get to hear the light bulb moments at that age, because in high school, they tend to think they're too cool to have a light bulb moment, right? Where in middle school and especially elementary, there's like, I figured it out.
Right.
Yeah, that's totally different. And I think the music heroes, and every time people try to say, well, great job or what, no, the real heroes are middle school and elementary, and they make whatever we do in high school possible. So it's really cool that you got that experience. I don't have nearly that level of experience outside of high school. I did one middle school jazz band, and I was like, I don't think middle school's for me.
Yeah, we won't talk about the results that I got at the middle school, okay? At the end of the second year at the middle school there in Lindsay, the principal, who was a wonderful band director, not Russell Campbell, the other Campbell brother, was my principal, and he came at the end of the year to this band, of which one of the members was my son, and he said, I think we can agree that Mr. Stava doesn't do well with junior high age kids. And the kids all said, yeah, you're right. He's not very good at junior high. But 201, they all signed up for my high school band the next year at Lindsay High School.
It does take a different approach. We'll just say that.
Absolutely.
Well, and G, I mean, you obviously did student teaching, so you had a middle school experience.
I did. I only student taught in middle school.
That's right.
Yeah, up in Washington, it was different at the time. I don't know if it still is, but so I did a whole semester of middle school student teaching at it was in the Shoreline School District. I don't remember the name of the school. It was with Alec Wilmart. A really great area, suburb just north of Seattle. And it bothers me that I can't remember the name of the school right now.
And for people that aren't realizing there's a little bit of a connection here, Mr. G from Fresno, Mr. Stava went to Fresno State.
Yeah.
And near Madera. And then Mr. G went to Central Washington University for his undergrad and credential. And Mr. Stava retired up to a similar area or a nearby area. And so there's a lot of overlap and a lot of geographic familiarity. And it's very small
a lot of
world.
Mutual Facebook friends now too, actually.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like every time I turn around, I run into somebody say, hey, do you know Cameron? And I said, yeah.
Small world.
Camarillo. Cameron's there. I know him.
Yes.
So you you have a good long resume. What do you have a specific school, before we dive into more Camarillo stuff, that really stood out as a particularly unique setup? I mean, you got to talk a little bit about teaching elementary into high school and having been able to really dig in the trenches and teach these beginners. But what other experiences really stood out?
The absolute classic that I had was a 4th through 6th grade principal who insisted that every kid in the entire school, every 4th grader, was in band, and she got me 60 cornets, 60 clarinets, 60 flutes. I saw the kids twice a week, and they took one quarter they took on a flute, on all of them played flute. Then we put them all on clarinets for a quarter, and we put them all on, saw them every day. 5th grade, they got to choose between instrumental or vocal music. They had to take all of that. The teachers got, that was the teachers' prep time. So we had the kids.
That's the model.
We had the kids completely. So all of the kids through 4th through 6th grade were in music classes twice a week. It was fabulous.
So of the 3 instruments, I'm curious, is it worse to have 60 flutes, 60 clarinets, or 60 cornets? Which was your least favorite?
Saxophones.
So loud. It's so loud.
That makes sense.
It's the loudest instrument.
No, actually, it was the hardest one to really get going with all of them was the flute. And it was basically the grip, how to hold the flute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure it's so different than everything else. air support's very similar to brass, but just that figuring out that embouchure and more than anything, you need to be able to visualize it. And unless you have a mirror, like it's really hard.
Right.
I think that, so what you touched on is that you had a special support system in a place like that. And also the way it was built in. So a lot of students in our area experience music is very voluntary. It's an elective, it's an option. Sometimes it costs money. It's an extra thing that our families have to support. Whereas you have a situation like that where it's built in, it's expected. You are doing this, which version you choose. And then you touched on something really important. It was built into the teacher's prep. So in high school and secondary in general, we typically have a prep, which is a period of time where we could catch up on work and do IEPs and do all these supportive things. In elementary, they don't get preps. And if you can have an administrator who's smart enough to build in the prep and get with the union and say, hey, we'll give the teacher some time off so they can do band, all of a sudden now every teacher is backing band, even if they wouldn't have. And the Poway district is, famous for that. That's why Poway in down San Diego has killer music programs. That's incredible. So you said 4 years Air Force.
Yes.
And then did you do that? You did that before your master's?
Yes, I did that between my bachelor's and my master's.
Did they VA loan help you out with your master's? How did that work?
Yeah, it allowed me to eat.
Yeah, and that we're going to touch on it later. But you've stayed doing stuff with the military and the Air Force.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that's incredible. So, thank you for your service, obviously, and that's really cool that you had that experience to share with students, especially in an activity that tends to be rooted in military and parade band. And I think you bring an aspect of history of it that's different. All right. So, let's start talking a little bit more about Camarillo here. What was the program like when you came in? So Susan Chirurgy was there for a couple of years. What existed? What were the classes? What was the structure?
Yeah, the classes, we had two concert bands, and they were just, because of scheduling difficulties, they treated them as equal bands. If you can't fit into band at fourth period, we'll put you in band at second period. Which gave us some interesting instrumentations and just a lot of things and ability levels. Then we had a jazz band, a choir, and a guitar class when I first got there.
Okay, so full-time, obviously, and you had guitar class is what rounded out the schedule.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and then, so what was your first change that you wanted to make to the schedule and the offerings?
Well, the first thing I did is I made one wind ensemble class and one concert band class and put the better kids in the wind ensemble. And I had to go to the counselors, and fortunately I had a really good principal there at Camarillo that really backed me up with that. And the counselors did a nice job, but it was a lot of extra work on their part to do that. So that's the first thing I did. And then I spent probably 8 years trying to get a string program going. And the only thing we could make happen there was the mariachi program. That was the only way we get strings happening there.
And strings could only happen if middle school has strong strings and is feeding you kids. And what's unique about our area is students who do band also do strings. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in order to build a string program. And I know SOCM and PVSD has been in talks off and on for well before my time.
I was going to say that goes back to my time.
Yeah, that to try to hire someone to be a traveling string teacher and not be after school, but it being like the proper way where it's in the schedule. And that's how you can grow it.
Yeah.
So your first goal was to do orchestra, and then mariachi came of that later.
Yeah, I tried to get to orchestra. I never could get the signups. We could never get more than 4 or 5 kids to sign up, and they just the district couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
And finally, the Riveras came up and said, "Listen, we can. It's mariachi. It's not an orchestra, but at least we're playing stringed instruments."
Yeah, and they were already teaching at other sites.
Right.
Yeah. So, and Camarillo was kind of the last school to add it.
Yeah.
And we'll be touching on the history of kind of how that came to be a little bit later too with the Riveras
when they get here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's and obviously you would be sacrificing the guitar class to add the string class, right?
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, a guitar class, number one, it's not for everybody. And I just, number one, not loving guitar to begin with, which I don't. I really don't appreciate the guitar that much. And then the type of students that oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes get shunted off into guitar classes are...
They just need an elective. They're not passionate about performing arts and I think that one of the struggles of guitar classes, it's usually a guitar class and not a guitar ensemble or an ensemble like program where there's teamwork, there's camaraderie, there's culture built into it. A guitar class, they just, that's my second period class or that's my third period class. They don't really look at it the same way. And it's nothing against guitar, but I think it's the nature of the ensemble and the class setup, even the curriculum. I mean, it's written that way. It's very individualistic instrument, like teaching piano. So, so what was the marching band like when you got there?
First came there, when I first got there, it was kind of interesting for my interview. They had the boosters there with Mr. Littman and also Fundi Lejean from Oxnard was there. And probably about 20 kids signed up for the band. And, basically the boosters told Mr. Littman they wanted a band program. They wanted a marching band program. They wanted a field marching band program, not a street marching band program. And they wanted somebody that could put together a marching band program. Bless his heart, Fundi looked over at Glenn at that point. Fundi and I had some history at that point. We knew each other. And Fundi just looked over at Glenn and said, "This is your guy to do that. He'll make that work." And we just started off with that. Probably about 25 kids by the time we got started. We marched 1A for I think 3 years, and finally got up to 49, 50 kids. It just took a while to get it going. We got it going. We did some pretty nice shows and got things happening.
So quickly, Fundi Lejean was also on my hiring panel, and I've known Fundi for a long time band director at Oxnard High School, just retired. Before he fully retired, he stayed on to do some more video production, which he started in the 90s there when it was still shoulder camcorders like Contras. And it was a passion of his, and he's now at Ventura College helping out as adjunct faculty and has a long history at Oxnard High School. What's your history with Mr. Lejean?
It was the strangest thing. When I walked into the interview, I took one look at him. He looked at me, and we both recognized each other immediately. I mean, it was kind of like, oh, I know him. We've never put it together. I have no idea where I know him from.
Why?
I think we kind of have. I used to do some orchestral work down in Los Angeles, ad hoc, and I think that's where we met. Down in the Los Angeles area.
He played French horn and wild. And he went to USC and was doing the LA scene. Interesting. All right, so and a distinction, field and parade. I mean, the students probably know to some extent, but Camarillo was largely and many schools at that time were predominantly parade bands. And it's just a different ballgame.
The strong band, of course, there was what's the school where
in our area?
Well,
Wainimi with Mr. Doty had a strong parade band.
But it was Channel Islands was a little strong. They were real strong in the street. But my parents and the boosters and the kids at Camarillo, from day one, they were looking at Rio Mesa, which had a very strong field program at that point with Annalisa. And they just said, we want that. We don't want to do parades. We'll go ahead and do the parades that we have to do, but we really want to focus on field. And I just told them, I said, it's going to be a lot more expensive and a lot of work, but we can do that. And to their credit, the boosters and the students just bought into it 100%.
And the history going before your time, the focus of the program was maybe more choral.
I think so. Well, with going back to what's his face?
Scott Henderson, and then into Bruce Callell and
Bruce Callell,
several in between.
yeah, Bruce Colell had some choirs and some vocal things there that were just insanely good. So that was,
yeah. And they were featured on, TV shows and traveled to China. And I mean, they were a reputable, legit program. Actually, when I got hired at Camarillo, Nick Rail, who I worked for prior in between teaching jobs, said, "Why would you take the Camarillo job? That has always been known as a choir school." I mean, and he goes way back, and so he thinks about it in a longer term sense.
Yeah. Nick and I'll have a little conversation about that.
But he just had it in his head that's what that school was about, because through the 90s, and his experience, and he went to Santa Barbara, and that's Santa Barbara native. But it's just so funny that it's interesting that the boosters came in and said, "We really want this."
Yeah.
And we want to support this. And that's a really powerful statement. And it goes to show you how the will of the people can push the agenda and plans.
Clearly.
So, I mean, you talked a little bit about your biggest challenges and what you had to deal with in terms of building, what were some other, maybe some that stuck out that maybe were roadblocks, systematic or just situational, or maybe because it's a high school district and not a unified district? What kind of things really stood out?
Well, obviously the unified school district issue was big. That was one of the things that worked well in Madera. We were unified. I was, while I was at the high school, I was also an assistant director at each of the junior highs. So those kids knew me, really well. So unification would have been a big thing. My biggest challenges were getting kids signed up for band with scheduling, getting them into a 6-period day. And then that PE credit was just an absolute beast for so.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about that? When you were there was a marching band was an elective. It was no PE credit. So you were pretty pivotal and the parents were pretty pivotal in that change. That you guys, OUHSD was one of the last districts in the region to offer PE credit for marching band. So how did you overcome that?
Oh, I started preaching from day one. I went to my PE department heads and I said, what we're doing in marching season particularly is remarkably aligned with the content standards of PE. So I went to work on the PE content standards from the state of California, and I just aligned that with what we were doing in marching band and started selling it to all of our PE department. Had the entire PE department except Camarillo High School was signed on to it huge. And they said, that just makes sense. It makes our classes smaller. If we can get those band kids out of our classes, we can get smaller classes focused. And if you're doing all this anyway, we're meeting our goals. And finally, I got a phone call from somebody after several years of this knocking around. I got a phone call from a person in the district, said, now's the time, present it to the board, put it on the board agenda for the next meeting. And I went in and presented. Fundi was there, and Fundi and I both stood there and spoke to the board, and a couple of the students spoke to the board, and the board passed it. And it was kind of like, wow, that worked.
So the way district curriculum committee works, DCC, if you are presenting a class that has overlapping classes, so in this case PE, you need PE approval, and you need
absolutely
pretty much unanimous from department chairs. Sometimes you can get but that's generally speaking how that works. There's more steps to the process, but for example, when we add an art class, we would have a say as performing arts teachers, how that works. And so you had to struggle with that, which has been a long-standing thing in our activity is fighting for legitimacy. And you talked a lot about schedule conflicts. Well, most of the schedule conflicts were created by marching band having a class but not PE credit. So now you have a marching band class, a PE class for your PE credit, and then how are you going to fit in with everything else, because band kids are academically excelling and taking world language and all that.
Being bluntly honest with you, serving 5 years on the DCC didn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps. You have to make those connections, and it's a challenge, but we do what it takes for our program and for our students. So that was huge. I don't know if I would have taken the job if it didn't have PE credit.
When I took it to the DCC first, like I say, I had been serving on the DCC committee for I think at that point 3 years. And I had worked with many of them, like you say, lining up the curriculum and writing the things. And when I brought it to them, there was that respect that they said, well, listen, if Stava's bringing it to us, then it's probably legitimate. Let's have a good look at it. And,
because if someone who's never come to a single meeting just shows up and wants to add something, there's a little bit more, hey, well, who's this person? Where do they come from?
Who are you?
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of that tendency. All right. What was your, other than the PE credit, which I would say is a huge triumph, what were your biggest successes?
Well, that was my first one that I listed on the things of successes. But the second one, you got to kind of get a kick out. There's actually two that you're going to really enjoy. The second was having the wind ensemble pull off the Bulla arrangement of Star Wars. When we actually got that thing to where it sounded decent, that was, I considered, a great. And it wasn't just my accomplishment; it was their accomplishment. The last thing is when I did retire at the last concert of the County Honor Band, Mike Gangemi took a few minutes publicly and thanked me for all my work. And I tell you what, that just touched my heart deeper than anybody would ever realize. I liked and worked with Mike an awful lot, and when he actually publicly thanked me there at that venue, I just have to say that was one of my cool things. And of course, I don't know if you ever saw the recordings of the send-off the kids gave me when I left. That was pretty phenomenal. Some of the kids put together, all the shows we had done this year. They all got together and kidnapped me and got my family together without me knowing it. And we just had a great one of those Mr. Holland's Opus moments. And that was a cool thing.
So you weren't just leaving the school, you're retiring after a storied career. They got to celebrate all of it with you. And that's a huge deal. But you also kind of changed the path of the program. The program was much different from when you found it to how you left it. And I think, like we tell students, leave this place nicer than how you found it. You did that. You stayed there and you had to fight panels like that for PE credit. And the Steve Bulla arrangement is not easy. It's like the exact transcription, essentially, especially in the brass. And it's crazy hard. Yeah. And actually, I remember going through the library and finding that and thinking, what is this doing in here? Well, and then I think Gold Coast wanted to borrow it.
Yeah. The inside story of that was Stephen called me at one point and said, listen, it's being published right now. He said, we can sell it to you really cheap. Grab it now while you can. And I said, I haven't got a band that can handle this. And he said, listen, just get it and put it in your library.
Just get it. Because it was probably because of rights, it's probably like $300 or $400 or something.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The cinematic versions of Star Wars stuff are like $400 or $500 now.
Yeah.
It's really, really pricey.
Expensive. Yeah.
So I'm going to share screen really quick and, so what this is, are you guys seeing that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is
2006.
2006.
Yeah, 2006, which would have been the Film Noir show.
Film Noir. So that was the Chris Walden music.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about that in the last one. So this is your second year or third year?
Third year.
I
started with Carnival, and then we did Labyrinth, and then Film Noir was my third year.
Wow. And so this is back when we would go to field shows, and after you performed, you go take a picture.
Yeah.
Like you don't even do that anymore. This is truly a relic. So this is the uniform. You had gotten a new set of uniforms after this.
Right. Yeah, that's the first uniform I had when I got there.
And as you could tell from the drum major uniform, this is very much a Blue Devil inspired uniform. 90s Blue Devils, of course. So when this was purchased, I think Herzog days.
Yes, Herzog bought those.
And then what made you guys buy the next set of uniforms, which were these?
We ran out. We just didn't have enough uniforms to fit.
Not enough.
Yeah.
So, and then my second year, the drum line wore these.
Yeah.
Front ensemble
ran out.
and pit, and then everyone else wore these, and then we had to buy new ones. So what show is this right here? This is, and that's you right there on the track walking away.
Yeah, which probably says something about it.
Alto,
you know, I can't.
Alto soloists to start out the show. I know that.
Yeah, I really can't put that one together. I really don't know.
I wonder if there's a student like a former student in the chat that would
say they probably know.
I know there's at least one of Mr. Stava's former students in the chat. So if any of y'all know what show this is, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and this is Sounds of Conejo, so this is definitely not early years. This is the newer uniform.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Georgia Gump is the soloist, according to Mr. Devin Cooper. 2013.
Hey, Devin.
Yep. That would be
okay. 13. There it is. Yeah, and we talked about that in the last one with Cody. We did talk about this, and right. And Georgia like stands out to a lot of people still. Like when I first got hired, people talked about Georgia. She became drum major, correct?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
One of the funny little stories with her, we were writing some of the music for her. She was playing on a Barry sax, and she was playing a piece of music that we couldn't get permission from the holder to to play the thing. So I just told her, I said, go ahead and do it, and just kind of do it like you're doing an open solo in jazz band, which is what she did, and we got away with it.
And music rights during your tenure, music publishing rights and have changed a lot. You actually did a show that cost an obscene amount of money.
Several.
Well, but particularly one. It was the one with the ladders, and you had was it Led Zeppelin or Superstition.
That was a great show. We took first place at Mission Viejo with that show.
That was not cheap though on publication rights, permission to arrange rights.
No, we spent quite a bit of money on that one.
Yeah, and that's when things started getting kind of out of hand in that.
And that's one of the reasons the next show we did was impossible. I just told Bill, I said, listen, write it. Don't let's not write any songs. Let's just go to your music.
Yeah. And then here's the Gatchell brothers. So James, All-State, I believe, definitely All-County, French horn. And then David was also drum major and All-State for clarinet and played saxophone and is now a pianist, getting his master's. And he was on our last one. So I thought that'd be cool. And this is the old venue. This is where you guys, did you guys perform at the community center when you first started as well? So this was the long-standing location of where concerts were held. Yeah,
so the only place we could at that point.
Yeah, which was it's essentially a gymnasium.
Fascinatingly enough, James called me 2 weeks ago and just called me out of nowhere and said, "Hey, I'm in Tacoma. Let's go get lunch."
So that's awesome.
Yep,
that's so great that you get to do that.
Yes,
and actually, in looking through pictures, I saw the Dylans met with you up north as well. So this, my first half of the year, this is where we performed also. My first year was the first year of Rancho Campana. PAC wasn't open till the end, but I have some stories for that stage that are not YouTube live appropriate.
There you go.
So, and this is now, we'll start in the bottom left, because basically when I got hired, and I think Cameron, Mr. G experiences this a lot too. People will say it's a band director thing, this coffee thing.
Yes.
And this is, we actually have a wall of our coffee mugs now in the,
I'll see if I can find a photo to share. I think I have
the jazz room. Yeah, and so, but that's very much your thing. And when I came in, even though we were separated by 1 year of another director, Mr. Reynolds, I definitely would find coffee stains on music and things. And it never bothered me because it's something I would do. Like, it's not something that crazy. Mr. G is a little bit more neat than the two of us.
A little.
One of the classic comments that came back from kids every once in a while, they would say, "Mr. Stava, did your shirt enjoy that coffee as much as you did?"
I didn't spill it a lot on me. I'm very
neither of us do that, luckily.
It's all over.
You guys
our desk.
don't have guts as big as mine, okay?
Well, we also don't have mugs quite as big as yours. I mean, apparently you were walking around constantly, sometimes with a pot.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember pretty early on when I was doing that, they're like, "Oh, you're just like 2 directors ago." I was like, "I know, Mr. Stava. I know."
Yeah.
And then, so can you tell us what group you're playing with on the right over here?
That's the Port Angeles Symphony. I have the joy of being the principal trumpet for the Port Angeles Symphony. Scott Meredith is next to me there. He's the trumpet professor at University of Wyoming. He's the trumpet professor at University of Wyoming. He lives in Poulsbo and comes in and plays a concert. Doug, the next man there, studied with the same teacher that I went to college with at Long Beach State. And then Drew is a Coast Guard man that lives in Port Angeles. Oh, cool. So that's the Port Angeles Symphony trumpet section. I think we had just finished Mahler 1.
Ooh, that's not a bad concert.
Well, and I'm proud of myself that I was still on my feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not be. Mahler is a bit of a blow for us brass players, yes, especially the trumpet players. So yeah. All right. So the Port Angeles is, would you equate it to like the New West of the region?
Yes.
Is it at absolutely. That level? So, yeah. And I know, so we got obviously Seattle Symphony. And
Seattle Symphony, of course, professional. I play with the Seattle Philharmonic regularly, which is a it's plays in the same place as Seattle Symphony, but it's obviously a volunteer type thing. But we play some really good stuff there. Right. Those are the 2 orchestras I play with most. The picture on the left there, Keep Calm and Drink Coffee, is in the Tacoma Music Playhouse, and I've been playing principal trumpet in there for a number of years now, and have a lot of fun doing just show music.
Yeah, and then, of course, harder.
Yeah.
A lot harder.
Yeah.
And then the top left,
Yeah, I do the, as a military veteran, I'm authorized to wear my uniform, and I do have the training to bring taps to a military funeral. And that was one I did just last week. And it really is, it's quite an honor for me to do that. I enjoy doing it a lot.
Well, that's incredible. It's a powerful moment. As someone who's been,
just want to go ahead and point out that particular uniform was the uniform I wore when I was in the Air Force. Still, it still fits.
Good for you.
The uniform I wore in drum corps would not fit me.
Yeah,
not even close.
Yeah. It's just that zipper through the midsection. That's what always.
Yeah, it's just. I'm like Chris Farley, fat man in a little coat.
Oh no!
So the as someone who's been to one of those services, it as soon as you hear it, it really kind of strikes a nerve, and I don't know if it maybe is more so as a musician and knowing that or what. And I have not had the honor to serve, but I think that you doing that is quite a service. And you're also involved with the the Salvation Army ensemble, right? Oh, yeah. So you're now that you're retired, you're more busy, and I hear that that's a common theme.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, when I retired, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to play my horn, which now things are wide open, and I can play with the Salvation Army Divisional Band. They meet once a month up in Seattle, and I can go play cornet in there. I also play in the Brass Band Northwest, which is a pretty top-end brass band, just all brasses, no woodwinds. Yeah. Play a lot of British literature. And I found myself last year, almost playing too much.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a good problem.
With a brass band, I would imagine that would put you over the edge. That's a lot of playing.
That's a lot of playing. What do you, I mean, you're clearly enjoying retirement and you're doing amazing stuff and you're still involved with music and doing awesome stuff. What do you miss most about teaching in general? What's like something that you can't get fulfilled as a musician?
Underline this, the students. Mm-hmm. That's what you miss. It's just killing me. Not working with students every day. That's the most. I'm the faculty, especially the faculty at Camarillo. Although I have a lot of faculty members from other schools that I still miss and enjoy a lot. The boosters, the administration, all of those things, and just for me, the community of Camarillo. My God, if there's that was the absolute the pinnacle of where I could have wound up my teaching career. There's just nothing compares with saying, hey, I was at Camarillo High School.
It's a special community that really supports and really rallies behind its school and its activities. And I've definitely noticed that support really quick. And the boosters especially really stood out pretty quickly. And that nucleus that actually we had a lot of overlap with. It's really, really something else. All right, quick rapid round, couple questions.
Yep.
I think I might know the answer after something else you said. Favorite piece you conducted or led?
Hard telling, but I'll tell you, the Star Wars was pretty far up there. We did a piece, and I'm trying to think, we premiered it. It was about the Holocaust. That was pretty intense conducting. I really enjoyed that a great deal. The jazz band with picking up the pieces. That was just plain fun. There's no doubt about it. So
it's a fun tune. All right. Favorite competition that you used to take your students to?
Well, that's hard. I'd have to say at this point, Mission Viejo was obviously a lot of fun. Right up the road from us, right up the hill.
The Sounds of Conejo and Thousand
Sounds of Conejo. That was always a total kick for me to do. I enjoyed that an absolute. Probably, I'd say that was probably about my favorite.
Yeah, because it's non-competitive, and the kids don't have to warm up for ages beforehand. We get to interact with the other students and the camaraderie. The kids love it. It's really
the kids
special.
Interacting with the other students was cool.
Yeah. Favorite field show you guys had during your tenure?
Superstition.
I'll
go back to Superstition. That was probably my favorite. Impossible was awfully good, but Superstition I think was my favorite.
Yeah, kids really talk about that one for sure.
Yeah.
And then oh gee, I just saw the picture.
Yeah, I just
and then the last one. Do you miss being downwind on a hot day from the agriculture department?
You should have worked in Lindsay. That was.
I guess I'm asking the wrong person.
Yeah.
No.
Or Tulare, even Tulare Western.
Tulare Western.
Yeah.
But Western, everything was so far off campus. We never got the downwind there at Western. So anyway.
Yeah. So we do, before we switch gears here, Mr. G did put in our coffee wall that we want to share with you.
There it is.
And so it's expanded quite a bit.
That was early on. We have more now. I think we have too many to fit on the
we have to put in
at this point.
We have to put in more hooks.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do that actually.
So, and he got this for me for my birthday, I want to say.
Yeah.
That went up there.
One of the gifts I've ever given to anybody, actually.
It's pretty thoughtful, right. Mr. Wachtel.
I was proud of myself.
Well, I'll send a donation down so you guys can afford more hooks.
Thanks for that.
We don't build this stuff to the boosters. Yeah, but no, we have a good time, and Mr. Martin hooked us up with one of those, and we several students gave us some as gifts. I've got a Portland State one up there from a student, like a lot of fun stuff. We also have some really snarky ones, like stuff that you would really appreciate.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I think we're in a lot of ways, band directors all have a similar sense of humor.
We do.
All right, so we're going to switch gears to the Rivera brothers. I know you planned on staying on.
Yeah, if that's all right.
And no, please do. But what I'm going to ask is actually that both you and Mr. G sign off first and sign back on. And the reason is we are a little glitchy right now. And so I'm wondering if we kind of clean out and then come back with everyone, and I can allow everyone in. So if we can sign out and sign back in, I think we'll be in good shape.
I already deleted your email.
Sounds good.
Link.
I'll send you the email.
No, I'll find it. It's fine.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
And then there was one. So let me go ahead and let Mr. Dominic Rivera. Okay, fancy over here. And there's Mr. G. And there's the other Mr. Rivera.
Hi.
And so, hey guys, Thanks for your patience. Not too late. I think I told you guys like 7:40. That's not too bad.
I heard we're going to midnight.
Well, just because the sun's still up in Washington.
We got plenty of material, so got plenty to talk about.
So Mr. Stava, I think, is going to come back. I did kick them all out because we were a little glitchy and we were having some issues. So I wanted to try to kind of balance things out here. So let's start on the bottom right. It says Alex, but this is Mr. Ramon Rivera.
Hi. It's because it's on my son's computer. It always shows Alex. I don't know why? And I try to remove it. It doesn't work.
You know what? You got a tech coach and someone who is younger than a millennial in the room.
So maybe you'll show me how to change my name, but it doesn't matter. On there, I know how to do screen share, so on there.
You're good with tech, is all I'm saying. You're good with tech.
Yeah.
And then we've got Dominic and Tony are in, but they're not. They're still connecting to audio.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I wonder if they should maybe just.
If you're on an iPad,
they go that other internet service.
if you're on an iPad, you have to. It'll prompt you with a window that says call in with audio. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Service.
You're all good.
I think we're still on YouTube. That's why.
On an iPad, you have to. Oh, now you have to turn off the feed of us going live because now I hear myself 5 seconds after.
I should have prepped them for you, Mr. Cook.
I know they're just the B team over
here.
They're
not used to doing Zoom.
Us going live because now. There it is. More of me.
There we go.
We all know you like to hear yourself talk. This is no different.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Sound like my children. I've been called out by my 6-year-old a lot. So it's been rough. So first let's go around the room and first start out with what years you were at ACHS, and we'll start with Ramon.
Okay, I'm a graduate of 1996. Graduate of Camarillo High School. Was in the band 4 years with Dr. Kalel, and I was also a part of SOCM. And what was great about what happened in the 90s is that they were really cutting music programs. So in 7th grade, their program got cut, but SOCM brought the music program back together. So awesome to see that organization's like super strong and still making that possible. But I was the first recipient of that SOCM era. And I'm very proud of Betty Wyack and Keith Cosby and all of those people.
SOCM was brand new in the 90s, correct?
Yeah, mine was the first year. They at what used to be Los Altos High School, junior high.
Junior high, yeah.
I went to actually a junior high, no more middle school. That was a junior high. That's how old I am. And that school doesn't even exist anymore. Anyway, Tony and I went to Los Altos, but they canceled our music program in 7th grade because it was because of the budget cuts.
Yeah.
But SOCM raised the money so that we could continue band, and then we were able to do it. But the band was only like about 30 people in my 9th grade year. So.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, it's cool to like bridge that gap because students know about SOCM and all of the, extra stuff that SOCM provides. And I don't think they realize Save Our Kids Music, SOCM is really because they had to do it.
They raised $26,000 just to save the band. So I applaud SOCM. I think they're an amazing organization and they saved the music in Camarillo. None of us would have a job right now.
No. Especially Mr. G over here.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have a second teacher. it would be a smaller program. Just like I'd still
be wearing a
I heard
football game days.
Still helps you guys. I mean, she's like our person.
Yeah, no, and I'm so grateful. I mean, Karen Gatchell and Betty Wyack, and then obviously the Copsies. I mean, and they've been through all of it from the get-go. So they're instrumental in all of this. And then so next in the order is Mr. Antonio Rivera. So what years were you at Camarillo?
95 to 97. I skipped freshman year. I went to a private school.
And so when you 95 to 97, so you had 1 year at Camarillo with Ramon, right?
Yeah. No, we went to high school together for 2 years.
2 years. But 1 year at Camarillo. What private school was it?
St. Mary's in Stockton, California.
Oh, that's right, because you guys went back up north. I knew that. All right, so you guys had some overlap there, and then we have Dominic. What years were you, Dominic?
97. So I was 1 year with my brother, and then I graduated in 2000.
2000, and you have at least 1 year with your sister too, right?
Yes.
So 4 siblings.
I think 2.
Oh, 2 years. 4 siblings. Plenty of overlap in your experiences as performers, and then and what people don't realize that Dominic and Tony are on our campus all the time because they teach mariachi now, and before they were doing it, Ramon was doing it, and now he's up in Washington, which is an interesting tie-in because Mr. Stava was just on, and it was small world, just a lot of weird connections there.
He was naming people when I was watching the show, so that.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the fact that he knows, because the Central Washington connection with Mr. Guerrero.
Yeah.
So Ramon, let's start with you with your career path. So after high school, what was the next job? What was the next school? How did
if you let me share screens, if you take off the share screens, I could show you on stuff. If you could tell, I use Zoom a lot. So on there.
I think you have a.
Oh wait,
host
there we go.
where you can't.
All participants. I was trying to see after it starts.
Okay. So this one, do you see the picture?
Not yet. Let's go ahead and try again.
All right. Oh, how about now? Oh, do I have to do? I have to click.
Try.
Yeah, you have to do the share. I had to change the settings to allow you.
All right.
There it is.
There we go. Okay. So this was me in band. See, I had a liar.
Oh wait, this doesn't have. Wait, do you guys see it?
Oh,
there it is.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. And we're on. Okay, so that was me with my lyre right here playing the trumpet. And so, what's really cool is that we had bell bottoms, and this was our uniform. That was our drum major, Tom Ling. He's a famous actor. That's more that we have to talk about. He's on tons of movies. So, but that's another story in another day, and I'll send you more of that.
Wait, let's time out really quick.
Yeah.
I see a lot of red in that uniform. I got in trouble my first year for having any red in a uniform. That's a cardinal sin in Camarillo.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why? Because you're rivals with Rio Mesa. So that was our cover band. And you like the ruffles, and there were bell bottoms. Too bad you're not seeing the floor, but there's bell bottoms on those. I don't know if you still have them in a closet somewhere. You should, bring them out.
You know what? I have the last 2 uniforms before the ones we use now. So the ones that Mr. Herzog brought in, and then the ones that Mr. Stava, who's now in the chat with us, brought in. But these are not around, unfortunately.
We got to find these. You got to have it up and show them.
I know. I'd love to get that history up.
All in a Goodwill.
Anyway, oops, sorry.
So what year was that on this one right here?
Okay, that one was the year after, because Dr. Kalel wanted us to wear, because the uniforms, we didn't have enough. So that was
again.
We wore cover buns, and we wore tuxedo shirts and bow ties, and that's me now. But me in 1994, I'm guessing.
And so that means those uniforms only lasted about a decade, because they were bought in the mid to early 80s.
Yeah. So we bought these ourselves. We just got black pants. Then we got the cover button. He just went to a tuxedo shop and got them. So, and this was our jazz band. This was Reno. And we, this was, of course, the silly picture. That's me in the middle right here.
Yeah, right there in the middle.
And that was our jazz band. We had a blast at the Reno Jazz Festival. It's like, one of the most important jazz festivals, and I've taken groups before, and Mr. Stava took a group just once, right?
Twice.
Yeah, and it's because of bus costs and insurance costs, a round trip just for the buses, not including anything else, is approaching $10,000. So to take a jazz band it's increasingly more difficult. But yeah, it was the biggest jazz festival in the Western United States, and it's a very important jazz festival. And that's Betty Wyatt's son right here, Doug.
Right.
Yeah, I played or I think he plays a little bit with the Camarillo Community Band, which is where I met him.
Yes.
And a lot of these guys are my friends for life. I keep in touch with all of these people that are in this picture. So, with band, you get to become friends with everybody.
Oh, of course.
And then this was me. I've been a teacher for years now. I did 5 in Oxnard Union High School District, and I've won several awards, but I won a National CMA Teacher of the Year, the Country Music Association. So this is me with Little Big Town. I also, my program won a Radio Disney Award. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that was only a couple of years ago. I remember that happening. Yeah. Can you pause right there really quick? Yes. So 5 years in Oxnard. So we're talking about your path. What did you go to school before you started working at OUHSD? Were you going to school and coach?
Yeah, I started as school coach. I went to Cal State Northridge, and then in 2000 I started the mariachi program after school, and then in 2001 it went school day at Wainimi High School and Channel Islands High School.
So it started at those two schools as an actual core class, not just an after school club type of thing.
I started after school with Mike Doty, and then we started with Wainimi, and then we worked with Gary Ingalls, from Channel Islands, and then Kathy Rogers. I know she's still over there at Rio Mesa. I worked with her.
She's at Pacifica now, but yeah, and she had mariachi at Rio.
Yeah, so we built it from there, and I did it for 5 years, and then I got a job in Wenatchee, Washington, and I started teaching there for 15 years, and now I'm on my third school in Mount Vernon, Washington. So
John Stava's got you beat on school, so you got a little bit more to go. He just shared his resume.
I know.
Just to pass on to you, I went to Anacortes High School across from Mount Vernon.
Cool. Yeah, whoa. I love going to Anacortes. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So what brought you to Washington? So I mean, Wenatchee is a storied program. You national recognition, national awards, featured. The program's winning awards. You're winning awards. What brought you there from beautiful Oxnard Plain?
Well, I know. What happened was I got to Oxnard, and I got a phone call from the Wenatchee School District saying we're looking for a teacher. And, I said, I took a chance, and I did it. My family, it was just my wife and I, we just married 1 year, and the cost of living in California is, how much it is there, and to buy a house was impossible. So on a teacher salary. So we took a chance, and I loved it. I love living in the Northwest. I think it's really pretty. It's a good place to have a career. I think it was a great opportunity, and I got to do so much in Wenatchee.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I got to, we got the opportunity to open up for George Lopez, and also with my connection with CMA, we got to open up for Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, and
your kids have gotten some ridiculous opportunities at Wenatchee. It's amazing.
No big deal. They called me, and they're like, Garth Brooks is in town. Would you like to meet him? I'm like, the Garth Brooks?
Sure.
And he's all, and Trisha will be with him. I'm all, Trisha who? She's all, Trisha Yearwood. You're going to have meet with them before the show. They got tickets. And I'm like, I'm still at awe, all the opportunities they are. I took my Washington, D.C., and I got to meet they got to perform for the Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, yeah.
Yeah, he the funniest story has to do with this was this selfie that we were taking with the speaker. Obviously my phone didn't work the minute I was going to selfie, and the speaker's like, I could fix your phone, and I said, no, I could fix it. And the Secret Service came up to me and said, the speaker will take the picture, and I'm like, okay. Right? You can't argue with the Secret Service. That's why everyone's laughing in that picture.
He's
the
most controversial slide I've ever seen in my life. And it's not because of Paul Ryan, the former Speaker of the House. It's because of Kenny G.
Oh, that guy says, well, I had to put him because he's from Seattle. He's just from Seattle.
And he's a monster saxophone player, and people don't give him credit for his tenor playing because they only hear him play soprano.
I got invited to his concert, and we got tickets, and So I knew the guy who was running the show, and he's like, "You want to meet Kenny G?" I said, "Hell yeah, I want to meet Kenny G."
Yeah.
You don't say no to Kenny G.
He's and everyone, you know what? The guy could play.
Yeah.
I had all this stuff because you think of his songbird and all this other stuff, but that dude could play. He's not.
So I have a friend of ours, and actually John would know Kevin Guerin. Kevin Guerin working with Didario Reeds. Didario Reeds,
Right.
You know, he plays on Didario Reeds, and he came just like all the other big people, like Chris Potter and all these guys, and he goes, oh, like, man, the guy can play. Like he is a monster player, obviously.
Well, you know, and he's an instrumentalist. He did a 2.5-hour concert on his sax, pure instrumental. He did not stop, you know. So I you know, everyone rags on Kenny G that he's not real, you know, or he's a phony musician. He's not. The dude.
That's 4 1/4 maulers right there.
Yeah,
yes, a lot. It's a lot of playing.
And then there's tons of stuff, but I just enjoy, you know, living here in the Northwest. And thank you for letting me share my screen.
Yeah.
But you know, if it wasn't for the Camarillo High School band, none of this would be a reality. You know, so I always look back at this picture and back to when I was. Yeah, well. Wasn't for SOCM, if it wasn't for Dr. Kalel, if it wasn't for the band program, you know, you become a leader being in band. You become, you know, there's lessons that you learn that are not in the
other places. Well, and what we talked about a little bit in the last session with the kids is we asked them who they looked up to, and a lot of them as freshmen looked up to seniors. And in sports, you're on a freshman team. There's no senior with you. And you're kind of compartmentalized, and in music you're not, and you have to work with each other. And speaking of working with each other, Tony worked with you a little bit before you left, right? There was some overlap there.
Yeah, well, what happened was I got this job in Wenatchee, and I said, Tony, you want to take the program? He's like, hell no. And then sometimes what happens, you know, it was like, I think there was a break, and this was kind of cool too, was Mrs. Jackson was the principal. I don't know, was that with you, John?
Just before him, right?
Yeah, she was before me, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was they didn't have a band director. And then they called me. They're like, Ramon, we're going to have you put you in the band. I said, okay, well, I'm Camarillo, you know, I'm ready. So, but then I think they found John, or they found someone.
Susan Truergy was the middle.
That was it, because they didn't have a teacher 1 week before school started, and so I was going to teach the band.
That's because Mr. Herzog suddenly went to administration, correct?
Yeah, he went to admin. It was like 2 weeks before school started. This was like 3 days before school starts. They're like, Ramon, we're going to put you in, and I was like, okay, I know. So let's do it.
Ramon's over there. Put me in, coach.
Yeah, I was ready. But then they called me and they brought in Susan. So I was like, okay, cool.
So Tony, what was your path after Camarillo? So I know you went to Moorpark College, right?
Yeah, I went to Moorpark College for quite a few years, and I played in the wind ensemble and the jazz band a couple of years.
And who was your professor? You've had some pretty impactful and pretty well-known professors.
Oh, Dr. Kravchuk, the clarinet player. He was the wind ensemble director. Mr. Song was also doing it too.
And so Mr. Song's still there. Kravchuk is not there. He's actually now at he passed away? No, I don't think so. He was actually
passed away.
He was involved though in a Metrolink accident. He was on the train. That was like a huge deal. But he's an epic, I believe, not just clarinetist. I think he also plays oboes and like all the oboe and all the woodwinds. He's one of those kind of like woodwind specialists. I want to say he's at a Cal State Dominguez, last I heard. But so Moorpark College had a pretty stacked setup there and some reputable professors. And then so Ramon roped you in to doing mariachi.
Yeah, I was just floundering around junior college, and I just was like, I didn't have a real job, you know. And then Ramon's like, do it, and I was like, I don't want to do it. Him and my dad were like, do it. I'm like,
so right. What came first, the teaching or Mariachi Camarillo, the group, the professional group that you guys have?
Well, we had Camarillo. I think the group has been together since '95. Yeah.
95? Mariachi
That sounds
Camarillo?
about right.
Yeah, we started around there. We were part of another group, and then we broke off and started our own group. And
So you had like a little Eagles Fleetwood Mac type moment, and then had to split.
There was a gentleman whose son was in the band, and Ramon and Dominic already played violin and trumpet, so I didn't fit in because I played clarinet. I didn't really like.
And then he saw the big bass. He's like, I want to play that.
You know how you don't want to play what your brother plays. You know, you just want to play something else. So.
You want to play something else. And then so Dominic, so like we got the path here of what's been going on and how it, like, Tony wasn't maybe a part of the plan and is now, expanded it more and more, and has been a huge advocate for mariachi across our district. And then Dominic, where did you come in? Did you come in right after high school, or did you do a little bit of college and then come in?
You know what's actually kind of funny? My brother and I, Tony, we started our first mariachi program when I was a senior in high school. So I would take my senior year, I would take like 3 or 4 classes, and I had to take weight training.
That is the most Camarillo thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I had to take weight training because I did band for like 3 or 4 years, and of course that didn't count for my PE credit. So I had to take weight training, and then.
You were super yoked, weren't you? Yeah. John fixed that. So you were super yoked. Like, what were you wrestling? Like, how big were you?
Not
so much.
100 pounds, maybe. I know my wife's gonna kill me about that because she always gets mad when I talk about my weight. Anyway,
you were squatting 5.
I never skipped leg day. So anyway, so I took my 4 or 5 classes. I remember it was jazz band, it was band. We even started a string class too. Also, and then it was like English and something else. And then I would take work study. So then my brother and I would travel to Rio de Valle, which is a junior high in Oxnard, which is like right behind Vista Ford. I don't know if people know about that, but yeah. We started our first mariachi program there in 99 or 2000, 99. Like that. Yeah, and then ever since then, I've been teaching mariachi here and there, private groups, community groups and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I got let go of my job because the economy went down. I was a graphic designer for DW Drums.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oxnard local.
Yeah. Literally when I worked there, I could ride my bike, get to work in like 5 minutes.
What years were you at DW?
Oh man. Well, I know it was before 2006. It was around when I got married that I was there, and I was there for about 2 years.
Because my friend who I marched drum corps with, an Oxnard graduate, was at DW too for a little bit of time in there. Nick Magana, but he wasn't in graphic arts. He was doing other stuff. But wow, it's small world.
Yeah.
So
I should mention really quick. Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
No, I was saying I'm also from Fresno because you guys were talking about Fresno earlier.
Absolutely.
That's my hometown.
I should say that Fundi's in the chat right now.
Oh yes.
He says what's up.
Fundi.
Hi, Fundi.
The Ramirez.
The man, the myth, the legend.
He's the best. There's nothing.
I love how Fundi.
Bring him on. Put him on here.
I love how Fundi was on both John and I's hiring panel. Like that's just like Fundi's everywhere.
Fundi started it all. He's the best.
He's the best. And actually, so my entire wedding party were all like Oxnard graduates and all in his band. It's like, so, I knew about Fundi
would change the Oxnard High School fight song to the USC fight song.
Of course he did.
It had the band going like this,
That's what Trojans do. At least the colors kind of matched.
He just changed the whole fight song to the USC Trojans. So
yeah,
which is
it's so good. So you have this mariachi program. I'd like to talk a little bit more about its development, because Wainimi and then Channel Islands, and if we think a little bit about the kind of the demographics across our district, that's a higher concentration of Chicano and Hispanic communities, right? So as it developed and you have Rio Mesa, what was after Rio Mesa? Oxnard?
Yes. So I know Bruce helped a lot with starting it too. Bruce Edmondson,
he's at Rio Mesa now, was at Rio Mesa and Oxnard as a vocal and guitar teacher.
Yeah, and so we started to do the program. But Gary Davis was the superintendent at the time, and his his goal was, we had a board member named Bob Valles who really wanted the mariachi program.
Mhm.
And he made sure that this was included in the curriculum. And so I was really happy that Mr. Valles helped get that started. Gary Davis, great instruments to get it started, hired me, and then started out with these two schools because they had the two biggest Latino population. So that's why with the two schools.
So and for any program, regardless if it's instrumental or not, there has to be interest. And to start something, you have to have the numbers, and the numbers can't pull too much from other things. So it made sense. And those are also larger campuses, I think, probably at the time. I know. Yeah,
they were at 4,000 students, you know. And then also what it is that you get high school students with zero experience. You know, you in band, you have like 7 years, but they want us to get them performing in a 2 month.
1 year.
And we worked our miracles. You know, we did it. We had to do what we had to do, and
I've seen it.
And we, you know, they invested $1,000 in instruments. They want to see a product. So I think we did the best we could in the time period we had and the inexperience of music.
And you guys, and let's be honest, across the other side of the district, and we have a lot of feeder districts. We're very fortunate and have the support of PVSD in our area, and we get students from all over Mesa Union and El Rio and all over the place now. But I will say that not every area is as fortunate to have feeder even band programs, and vocal programs are very lacking in all of the areas right now. So, you know, Dominic and Tony, you guys have found some really great opportunities to get involved and create those feeder programs. You talked about Del Valle, but you guys have also been involved in Blackstock and other schools, right?
Yes.
How do those come to be? Like, do you know,
Actually,
guys have a reputation now, and they probably come to you, but how does that happen?
Ramon actually taught Blackstock before he left. He taught Blackstock in elementary school called Haycox Elementary School and near Wainimi High School. And so he really opened the doors on a lot of the things. So
so Ramon kind of broke the seal everywhere, and then it just kind of like it's been just like happening ever since.
I knocked on a lot of doors. I tell you, it was a lot of campaigning on there on our part. You're half politician, half.
That's all of our.
Some things never change.
Yeah. So every music teacher has to do that. They have to go knock and knock and knock until you get it. You know.
So what I will say is, and my time is, you know, and my timeline is different on the overlap of this, but in between my teaching jobs, I was at a music store, Nick Rell Music, and I remember having conversations with industry reps, and this was late 2010s, and people were saying, or mid 2010s, and people were saying things like, mariachi is the biggest growing thing in the country.
Yes.
Why is Southern California not have it?
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, seriously? Like mariachi is growing like crazy? Like it is like ukulele in elementary school and mariachi everywhere is like massive, like multiple band directors, because there's so much interest. And I'm like, we have the area. Why isn't this long established? This is not like, it's not like there's a new flow of people here. We've had the culture here, and it's hard though to start programs. It's hard to write curriculum. It's hard to find support. And like Mr. Stava was sharing when you start a new class, how absolutely difficult it is to get others on board, because everyone wants their piece of the pie and they feel like anything else is taken away from that pie.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. It makes everything an uphill battle.
It took like 8 or 9 meetings, huh, Mr. Stava, with Mr. Ito and Mr. Littman, and a lot of teachers supported it, like Mr. Campos and Victor Palazuelos. They're instrumental in helping. But it was a little awkward too, because you're coming in, you don't want to like just, hey, we're gonna do mariachi. We got in the room with Stava and Ito and myself, and we said, hey, what do you guys think? If we do this, and he said, okay, third period open, right? Right.
So what's interesting about that is at the time, you guys were all with other directors. So like Mr. Stava, you guys worked all together. And
Right.
Ramon, you were with Mr. Edmonston, like you said, he was at both Rio Mesa
Well,
and
I was
Oxnard.
with Mr. Doty too, and
Mr. Doty.
and Edmondson, and they helped out. They mostly just oversee the class, but I was doing a lot of the teaching. And what they didn't want to do was taking band members away.
Of course.
And that's not the whole thing. It was untapped market. It was kids that weren't in music program and a traditional music that want to learn. Because I believe that I teach a style that you don't have to be Latino to be in the mariachi. I think you don't have to be African American to play jazz band. It's style. So anybody can play it. And what happened was mariachi was a tradition where it was passed down by family members. You belong to the Garcia family, and so everyone in the Garcia family. But with public schools, everyone could learn mariachi. Because you're learning how to read music. Anybody could learn it. If you could read a score, you could do it. Now we're having teachers that are not mariachi experts that are teaching mariachi because they could read the scores, they could do that. And what it is, and it's true what you said, Texas has monster mariachi programs. Las Vegas, monster mariachi programs. I mean,
Vegas
has 19,000 students. I mean, in mariachi. I mean, of course they have 2 students district, but it's amazing how this program is taking over. Because I work with KHS Music, and they do 18 guitarrones, and then I work with Delgado Guitar consultants for those companies, and the vihuelas are selling like
crazy.
I mean, guitars are selling off the shelf. They can't even keep up with the demand because of that, because of programs like Dominic and Tony's what they're doing. And
so what you had though was so different because you were working in conjunction with someone who was largely viewing you as maybe impeding on their space or their students, and they were struggling to keep students. Mr. Stava shared stories about how hard it is with scheduling and to create something that is so similar. It's the same reason why literature classes are some really unique literature classes on the books that certain English teachers maybe don't want because it would maybe affect the AP population or affect the honors population. And it's hard because you want to keep that program you've spent all that time building.
You put Avid in the mix, and they keep on adding
so many layers.
Yeah. So what I heard what Mr. Stava said is that you have to be on these committees, and I served on these committees, and I served on the planning committees, and whatever committee had to do with the schedule, I was there. And
Preach, brother, preach.
Well, yeah, you play the game, but it's also because you want to expose others to what you're about and what you hope to achieve.
Yeah.
It's not just a political game. It's also an exposure game because they're busy teaching when you're trying to teach, so they don't know what you're trying to do. And Dominic and Tony, can you guys talk a little bit about how things have recently been turned on their head? And for a positive, I would say in a lot of ways, and since my tenure, with you guys now being on your own.
Okay, so if you notice our jackets we're wearing, it says Mariachi Seis Estrellas, which stands for the 6 stars. So basically, my brother and I, we were always told to pretty much go out there and expand. So then now we're at Pacifica High School, we're at Camarillo High School, we're at Rio Mesa, we're at Channel Islands, we're at Wainimi. Did I forget a school?
Oxnard,
and then
you have the after school.
Yes, then after school, and then we also have at Blackstock, and last year we started another one in Ventura, in Data, and then during the summer. During the summer, I worked with a group in Ojai that I started a couple of years ago, and then I even have another group
Santa Barbara, right?
Santa Barbara. It's a nonprofit group that I work with, and so it just.
But not only I know it's too much. He's the only person that makes me look like a bum.
We're a bum,
but
right?
Not just that. That's fair. But not just that. You guys are now on your own as CTE teachers, and you guys no longer need to pair up with a music director.
Yes, a lady named Tiffany Morse, Dr. McCoy's wife, offered us an opportunity. She said, because we were trying to get a program started at Pacifica, which was the last high school we tried to get into. Believe it or not, it was the hardest school to get into, even harder than Camarillo. That's another story. I won't go into that. That's another story. But yeah, we won't have time for that. Huh, Mr. Stava?
Yeah.
So anyway, we couldn't find a teacher to teach with us. The guitar teacher was retiring. I think Miss Rogers couldn't do it because she had jazz band 0 period. And so I was like, the only the principal, Mr. Lawrence, asked Tiffany, and what can we do? And she said that, offer them they could do the credential program, the ROP or CEC pathway.
Yeah, ROP, CTE, career technical education. Yeah, it's a different funding source. It's what you see. Auto body and wood shop sometimes is under that, and robotics is sometimes funded through that. It's Carl.
Well, that's
Carl
how
Perkins
they do
funds.
it in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, most of their teachers are CTE teachers. It's a different way of doing it. So what I think is interesting, actually. So it is done like that in a lot of places. CTE is career technical education. It's to give you an opportunity that doesn't require a college degree to go make money and provide for your family and have a career, right? Mm-hmm. And you also talked about earlier, to tie it all in, you talked about how I'm teaching a language and you don't have to be Chicano or come from a family who played mariachi to learn this. Mm-hmm. And I think a prime example is Jacob, who is in Mariachi Camarillo and was a student from when I was still working with the Mariachi Alacran at Camarillo. Mariachi Alacran. I even sported the shirt today.
I know, I like the shirt.
It's a sweet shirt. And one of those suits was even fit for me when I was 35 pounds less. So I think that is a prime example. He came to us because a friend brought him in and didn't speak Spanish, and he had some guitar experience, and now he's a professional player with you guys, and he went to CLU and is doing that thing and playing with their group and a scholarship.
Doing mariachi, got
and $1,000 scholarship.
And a crazy nice kid, and had zero experience in the language and in the style, and just wanted to come play and was willing to learn and grow. Just took off. And so some people look at this whole CTE thing and like, well, this is kind of a shortcut, we've heard all of the criticisms, but really what it is, it's playing the game of how to fund something new. Let's be honest. We that's what we do in education is we have title this funds and title that funds, and we find ways to move things around to serve our students. And on top of that, many of us, I know for us, we needed to unload mariachi from our teaching schedule because we had other classes we needed to add. And there's no such thing as 7/5. Mm-hmm. So 6/5 is overtime. They don't give you 7/5. So we had in between, we had Mr. Sachs helping, who was doing math and music. And then we slowly had to maneuver and build into a two director program with you guys being on your own. And it worked out really well. And you guys are doing something that started as a couple schools and grew and expanded and is giving kids, the opportunities like Ramon is talking about, the opportunities he's had because of music. Mm-hmm. Not all of these kids, many of these kids would not even have these opportunities because maybe band is not their jam, or jazz is not their, marching band's not their jam. And you have Evelyn is also in your group. And she probably wouldn't have joined choir, but she was down to be, a showman in the mariachi.
Yeah.
And so and so it provides a space. I look at digital music the same way. We added digital music, I didn't go, oh my God, we're going to lose band kids. I was like, no, we're going to bring in kids who would never come to band. And when we added orchestra, I was like, not, oh my God, we're gonna lose band kids. It's like, no, we're gonna have kids that now can join that couldn't join before. And mariachi serves that space. And it's really, it is really important. I have more ties to it maybe than most of the teachers in the district because I grew up in a household that spoke a lot of Spanish, and I went to see Vicente Fernandez and get a star on the Walk of Fame, go see him in concert. And it's just like, when it came on, it meant something in my house. Mm-hmm. It was either Julio Cesar Chavez won a boxing match, or then it was Oscar De La Hoya, which I wasn't a fan of, but we could talk about that at a different time. Yeah. Or it meant it was time to clean the house. It was either Gypsy Kings or Chente was on, and it was cleaning the house time. So it tied to me. So before we try to wrap all this up, I want to bring it back to ACHS. We'll go around the room really quick. Ramon, Dr. Kalel, what kind of impact did he have on you? If you can have like one anecdote.
He's my idol. You know, when you have a band teacher, and he had a hard job because he taught the choir and he taught the band at the same time. So he had like 4 periods of choir and 3 periods of band and jazz band. The guy didn't eat or sleep, and the guy is a living legend, and he inspired me. We were a parade band, you know, with bell bottoms. He inspired me. I'm the music teacher that I am today because of him. I say that to everyone. It's because of his heart and his soul that he poured into it. You know, I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to thank him publicly, because if you know him, I know Mr. Stava knows him, he's a great man. Mm-hmm. And my brothers know him, that he's a great man. And even to this day, we keep in contact. Just
so the students will probably recognize the name, maybe more so because he arranged the fight song and the
I can still play the fight song.
And the alma mater.
I'm going to record it and send it to you, because I could.
We'll post it. Hey Ramon, we're looking for content right now. I don't know if you heard. We're distance learning.
That's right. I could play. We should have a challenge. You know, I could play it. I know Dominic could play it. Tony could play it. I know Mr.
Oh, they learned it on all the mariachi instruments for that.
Let's do that one time. I challenge you to record a video of you playing the fight song.
Oh my God!
Get the alumnus to play it, because I'm going to be
John.
The record it.
Well, and John's going to take it up an octave. We know that.
That's one octave. Make it 2.
And then I'm going to ask my friend Kenny G to play it. You know, that's all. And Garth.
Take it easy. Take it. He's going to pull out of the big guns. All right. So Tony, what about?
Just dropping a name.
What about you, Tony? What was like someone that really that's a moment that really stuck out with you?
Well, you know, having an older brother, you want to do some things that he does, and I saw how much fun he was having in the jazz band. And I didn't really play any instruments that fit in jazz. I know clarinet, you could use it in jazz, but it's not like a staple, right? So I was just like, I was talking to one of the band parents, and they told me, they're like, why don't you try string bass? And I never played string bass. And he goes, will you play the guitarrón? And I said, yeah, that's a different instrument. He's like, yeah, but like 3 of the strings are the same. And I'm like, okay, well, I tried out, to make a long story short, I tried out jazz band on the guitarón because I didn't play the string bass. And then Doc played a song on the piano, but it was in the key of D. Good for me, right? Only 2 sharps. So, and it was like a waltz or something. I'm like, perfect. Boom, boom. Yeah, you're pretty good at that. Like, let me see you play the 4th string. I'm like, so I tried the best I could, just kind of faked it. And he's like, you need to get some lessons, Rivera. He's like very blunt. And I said, okay. So it took about 8 lessons during the summer. And then
was it with Mike Velasquez?
Yes. No, it was Salazar.
I did.
Her name was Lucy Salazar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was like a fiddler. Her brother was a great fiddler, but she was classical based.
Okay.
So she wanted the positions right, and I was, come on, I'm gonna play jazz. Let me use this finger. Anyway, the fact that he gave me an opportunity, because I didn't really know how to play that instrument. I learned a little bit about it from my knowledge of guitarón, but it was a completely different beast, and I loved it. It was fun, and we went to Vegas, and we won the sweepstakes, and it was awesome. So.
I think that's what's cool about music too. Is like we'll take anyone.
Yeah,
and we'll give you the tools to succeed, and but we want you to just come and be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And then Dominic, what is something that sticks out for you?
Well, like the same thing. He was graduating, and then they were like, "We need a bass player." So they're like, "Why don't you try it?" And then this guy taught me like maybe the day before the audition, like the B flat, walk, boom, 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 boom. That's all I could play. That's all. So I was able to fake that, and then I remember I ended up getting the gig. So first day in band camp, we had jazz practice, and then Klaus like turns to me and goes, "Okay, you got the first couple bars," and I'm just looking at him like, I can't play that. I mean, I can read it, but I can't play it. And so he goes, work on it. And I'm just like, okay. And I think at the end of band camp, I was able to play the solo or something. But, like I said, it was something completely different. I mean, I played violin, I played guitar, I played other stuff, but it's like completely different beast. Like always.
Oh, give me a break. You play everything. Trumpet, sing, you're jack of all trades over here, like a little one-man show.
Well, I still have some of my memories from this right here. That's from the 3 years of like string bass right there.
But there were some really good musicians in there. I remember we had a really good sax section, and then the trombones, the drummer, everything was really good, you know? So we're just, wow.
It could be intimidating.
Yeah. But, you know, it's just like, you kind of slip in because you're like, oh, you're Ramon's brother, you know? It's kind of like.
You get the street cred. You get it right on the coattails.
Yeah, you're Ramon's brother. And I was always Ramon's brother.
You're like little Ramon. I'm just like, oh,
even today, every day, I could go to Channel Islands. They go, say hi to your brother. I'm like, which one? You know, the one that matters. I'm like,
so much shade.
I know.
Hey, and Ramon, what part did you play in? I know you're a trumpet primarily.
I
played
the trumpet, and I
lead.
Yeah, I played first trumpet, but we only had 30-piece band. You know, but anyway, I mean, it's just amazing of how the band has grown since the 90s. You know, I'm a 90s, how it's evolved into this beautiful program. How you, Mr. Stava, started doing field shows, and Mr. Herzog started doing field shows, and now the band is at a different level than when I was part of it. But I know Dr. Kalel set the foundation for us to do it. I just want to tell you one thing is that band, you're a friend for life. I mean, I was in Nashville when I got that CMA award, and there was a band member from Camarillo High School who called me and said, hey, I'm in Nashville too. Let's meet for lunch. When I went to Washington, D.C., Paul Ryan and did that thing, a band member that served in the Marines called me and said, hey, I'm in the Army too. I'm down the Marines. He met me. So, you know, when you're a Camarillo High School member, you're a friend for life. And I still run into them 45 years old, and I still communicate with them. So I'm telling all the kids that are in band, you'll be there, your family. And so enjoy it and
absolutely
make connections with you, because band members are the most loyal, most loving, most caring people. I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but you know, I know
they also know your darkest secrets, so you're willing to put up with them. So like quick rapid round. These are the questions I didn't send you. Start with Ramon, and you have to make a decision. This is tough.
Ramon, short.
What is the best?
Least favorite piece to teach.
Oh, the least favorite piece.
Least favorite.
Well, it's something called a G scale, a D scale. Well, no, when you have to do hot cross buns, I don't know why.
Okay, so elementary hot cross buns.
Elementary, nobody likes to teach hot cross buns. I know Mr. Stava likes hot cross buns, but
it's the staple. All right, what about you, Tony? Least favorite tune you have to teach.
Least favorite? I don't know.
Oh, come on, Tony.
It's not me.
You don't have any opinions?
It's past the burnout stage already. This will be my 16th year, so it's like Arbalest, I guess. You know.
All right. And what about you, Dominic?
Well, like the same as Tony said. Sometimes we teach a song like pretty much we have our standards that we always start off with, and it's like, you know, first period, you hear that song. Second period, you hear it again. Third period, you hear it. So it just you just hear it over and over. So like,
especially the holidays.
Sometimes when I travel between sites, I just turn off the music in the car because I'm just like, hear music all day, you know, just drive with silence, you know.
People do think that it's weird that I listen to podcasts and talk radio now because of that.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
one year I didn't teach the kids Feliz Navidad. You should have saw I got so much in trouble because I said there's 500,000 other Christmas songs, and they're like, "What happened? You didn't play Feliz Navidad."
Feliz Navidad.
They brought me into the office,
and then you responded, "I don't know if you've been to a mall recently, but you can catch it." In September.
Yes. So you can't play Feliz Navidad. You have to play it or you're in trouble. So
it is a challenge. It is a challenge. Yeah. And Mañanitas, you always have to play. So all right. We'll go reverse order this time. Dominic.
Yes.
Who's the most talented in the family?
Yes, he is. I agree.
This guy.
They say me. They say me. Honestly, I would say like one that's very talented, but he just kind of like is my brother Tony.
Or what?
Just
at what?
Not always music, but like he has this like
not always music. See?
No, but no, he has other times he could do voices, and he's like sort of like he could get the students to like, you know, do things like me, I have to like sort of like, come on, you know, convince them and everything. And Tony's more like, you know, try it. Yeah, try it. And I don't know. He has a certain.
It's not an act with Tony. He's just genuine like that, right?
I guess so. Sometimes we'll go bad cop, good cop on each other, you know. And I'll go on there. I'll try to be the good cop, and then he'll come and be the. Come on, you can do it. Okay. You know?
Someone told me I went to a workshop once, and they said, "I'm like, do you know what it is to be a teacher?" I'm like, "Yeah, you teach music." He goes, "No, you're a salesman." And it always stuck through me.
So I
with me, I'm like, hey,
not
100%
wrong.
True.
Not wrong. Tony, who's the most talented?
I would say musically Dominic.
Dominic?
Ramon is the most talented in like
in show,
be public and being a PR guy. He's like that. He's and trailblazer, of course, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then Ramon, you already said Dominic. You want to change your answer?
Dominic, he's a beast on all his instruments.
He does them all.
You know,
what's not fair is he's been playing classical violin since he was like 8. So he had the most training.
The foundation.
If you can't tell, I'm blushing.
And I played the clarinet, 3rd grade, hot cross buns, you know. So
I'm not gonna lie. So my first year was, you know, this is my introduction to Camarillo. I have mariachi on my teaching schedule, and I have these two in the room, and they didn't have as many schools at the time. So I have both of them in the room, and I'm like, hey guys, you guys are the experts. I want to help. And I would like I'm not a trumpet player. I play trombone and low brass. And I was like, I'll pick up trumpet. I'll, you know, do what I can. I'm helping kids out. I'm helping violins out. And I didn't have a lot of orchestral experience too. And then, you know, Dominic's over here singing, belting out notes, violin, just burning on violin and playing trumpet. I was like, what is this? And then Tony's over there, like creating the biggest sound you can imagine on guitarrón. And then like fixing all the guitars on stuff. And I was just like, I am in over my head. You guys just expertise was always astounding to me. All right. Everyone has to answer at the same time. You can't think about it. On 3, you were going to say who is the funniest. 1, 2, 3.
Tony.
The funny.
Tony.
He's the funniest because he doesn't. He's the quiet kind, you know.
He's subtle. It's always. I always get the funniest moment on the way out, and I'm like trying to go to the office to do something, and then there's always a funny story or some story about some other campus, and it's always the funniest.
Oh, I know. He has the best stories. No one's a better storyteller than he. Just won't come out publicly. Like he'll just.
You got to. It's always a one-on-one. It's a one-on-one.
Yeah.
I was kind of reluctant to do this because I don't normally do things like this, but I was like, Cook asked me, I'll do it. You know, Dominic's with me, and
good for you, Mr. Cook.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all you guys doing this, and you know, John, you like giving us that foundation and starting us off, and like all the cool stories. And I know the kids really enjoyed it. And then the Riveras, again, like I think it's so cool that you guys come from Camarillo, and then you guys branched out in the way that you guys did, and to see where the mariachi program is from where it was, and it's so cool. And I, again, like we tell the students, but sometimes we're so caught up in our own stuff, and there's so many things going on these days in our rooms, in the building now, but like to you know, the students in our program now, they see you guys walk by and it's like passing period, and you guys are in a rush too, but for them to now know that you guys are all products of Camarillo music and products of that building and all the cool things that you guys are doing and opportunities you guys are giving other kids, like it's awesome. And it's really cool to dig into this history. So with that, I mean, we're already at 8:45. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
I look for share it far and wide.
Thank you to Stava for accepting the mariachi, because I know we threw it on you. Not like, hey, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
this is year, right? Your last year.
Oh, please. It was my honor, and it was really fun to watch.
It's so
kids are having a good time. That's all that matters. It's all about the kids.
So John loved the moment that he can play super loud on trumpet. And that was like, this is my chance.
It's like 5 Fs in mariachi. You know, it's not triple forte, it's quadruple forte. You just put like 5 Fs, extra vibrato. You know?
There it is.
We used to get yelled at and banned for doing vibrato on the trumpet.
Yeah. It helps to have a part of a mouthpiece too.
All right, guys. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end it here. I appreciate your guys' time again. I sincerely do. Go Scorpions.
Oh,
You guys take care. And you two run into each other sometime soon from a distance up in Washington.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to Mount Vernon for lunch tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. He has to take a ferry though, but you know.